With the last panel discussion, the most awaited one at IRF 2018, Fireside Chat and Breakthrough Conversation on breaking the conventions to succeed against all odds, what it takes to be an unconventional leader and how it motivates your team. I would request Mr. Shailesh Chaturvedi, CEO, Tommy Hilfiger, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. Shailesh Chaturvedi with a huge round of applause. I would request Mr. Dilip Kapur, founder and president, Hidesign, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. Dilip Kapur with a huge round of applause. I would request Mr. Sumitro, Ghosh, CEO, Tata Starbucks, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. Sumitro, Ghosh with a huge round of applause. I would request Mr. Anjan, Chatterjee, founder and managing director, Specialty Restaurants, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. Anjan Chatterjee with a huge round of applause.
If you are not sitting here, I'm going to call you.
I would request Mr. Mukul, Bafana, CEO, Arvind Internet, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. Mukul Bafana with a huge round of applause. I would request the moderator of the panel discussion, Mr. B.S. Nagesh, founder, TRRAIN, to kindly come on stage and be on the panel. Please welcome Mr. B.S. Nagesh with a huge round of applause. Thank you.
Mike here. Thank you very much. Just allow me, let me go 30 seconds outside and call people inside here. Yeah? And thank you very much for introducing us, and thank you panelists for being with us. We have a very, very interesting panel. Well, this panel is not about business. This panel is all about people behind the business. And the panel was saying how to be an unconventional leader. I have changed the word unconventional. They thought it's a typographical error. I'm saying, how can you be unconventional and an unconditional leader? Leadership is all about saying, I don't put conditions. You have rules and policies. You can't run away from rules and policies. But how do you actually create unconventional, unconditional leaders who can take the businesses forward? We have a fantastic panel from internet to fashion to coffee to, he doesn't like me to call him the leather man, so the natural man, yeah, and of course the food man. So it's a fantastic panel, people who have taken companies to new heights, people who have actually taken companies public, and they have gone through ups and downs. And I would like to request the panel to talk more about the downs a little bit, because all of us in most of the panels talk about who I am, what I did, how many likes I have got on the Facebook and things like that. I want you to tell me how many dislikes you have got on the Facebook and how many times people have bashed you. How did your investor bash you and you went in the bathroom and cried? Things like that. And how did you really come out of that situation? To me, that is more important, yeah? So Anjan, I'll start with you. Because you created a brand, you built an organization in a tough market, you took it onto investors, then you listed the company. In this journey, tell me what are the odds that you faced? And also tell me what are the moments which are glorified moments, really loved the moments. So odds, challenges, glorified moments, and how did Anjan Chatterjee come out of those moments?
Thank you, Nagesh. And you've known us. हम जब अंडरपैंट्स में थे आप जानते थे क्योंकि जहाँ भी शॉपर स्टॉप हुआ
अरे इतना बुढ़ा थोड़ी हो यार यू इज टेलिंग अंडरपैंट्स में तब से जानता नहीं यार आई एम सेम एज यू हैव गॉट कलर्स आई डोंट कलर दैट्स ऑल
Anyway, so I was saying that, I mean, as you know that we are an Indian-born company, and I don't have the background of food and beverage necessarily. In fact, I was an advertising person. I shifted. It was, शुरू में तो शौक था ऐसे ही Only Fish खोल लिया था. This is 1992-93 when we had nothing.
What was the company? Only Fish?
Only Fish was the first restaurant.
Wow, yeah.
Then, which is expanded to Calcutta now. So in fact, we didn't understand too much. Nothing much was happening, There was no data. In fact, we went to the State Bank of India and then said that we would like to be in...
Yeah, go ahead.
We would like some investments coming into the new restaurant because this is becoming an industry. So they said, what's restauranting all about? So, the environment today is completely changed. So those were the days when you didn't have any P funds. There were no support systems coming in, so you had to put in your own fund. So I said that, okay, Only Fish was more of a mom and pop shop. From there, I mean, there was very little to do and understand, but it was a no-brainer to understand that Chinese continued or continues to be the most, popular foreign cuisine all over the world. So, and Indians have a a very big passion towards, and I come from Calcutta originally, so Tangra was one place, I'm sure, so all the whole Chinese colonies, etc. So we said, why not do a standalone restaurant and then try and understand that. So we didn't have any fun. So what we did was that we went to Sakinaka. I mean, if you remember that, you know, that was the first destination which continues to be in. So, and first year, you know, there was nothing happening. There was no pawai. There was nothing happening. So we said, oh, we will look at it as a proof of concept, as we call it today. I was not educated enough to understand these words earlier. So, and there was not too much of interaction in terms of understanding, exposure, etc., not studied too much. There was no data, there was no support, etc. So, एक साल तक हमने मेरी advertising fund से शुरू करके किया, but then we saw some resonance coming in, people driving down from Kolaba, etc. So, one tried to understand the business. So, and lots of failures in life. Just after that, in fact, that's not a part of the track which has been there. Not surely my investors don't know that. But it was in Borivali that we opened the second restaurant. And there people started asking papad, they started asking roti in Chinese restaurants. So we had, you know, I'm no offense meant to any Gujaratis present here. So
no, but if that is, once you have said that, they also started talking from this table to that table. And that table to this table. Real buzz and energy there. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying that, you know, so we had to shut down the restaurant because we couldn't sell that restaurant without a roti or a naan or a makhni dal. So we said that no, this is not the space. And as you would understand that for an average Indian, it used to be only a chicken Manchurian, chili chicken and Hakka noodle. Chinese was just confined to that. So huge problems selling dim sums, you know, a duck and trying to understand that whole, you know, even today I'll tell you what, Lucknow, we had a friend of ours who came in, he's an IS officer, he came with his own family and the children had a full meal and after that they started saying, Daddy, khana kahan hai? So they had some noodles, they thought it's a snack, kind of a Maggie. So Chinese continued to be having, so we've learned the lesson over a period of time. So I think we've failed many times to understand the process and, you know, I mean, there were so many barriers. Paisa to tha hi nahi hamare paas. Then there was bank funds coming in over a period of time. And then fortunately, at a point of time like 2007-8, we had the SAF partners who invested money in our...
Anjan, I just want to stop you here and just one quick question. During those first 2-3 years, when you opened a Chinese restaurant, you ended up making into a Gujarati restaurant and stepped out. At that point of time, as a startup entrepreneur, what went into you and what made you say, nahi yaar, main try karta hu aur? Because there are a lot of startup entrepreneurs here, if they don't have a PE funding and they can't see the valuation forget series, pre-series valuation, if you don't see a $50 million, they don't want to start. So what did you go through then?
See, I'll be very honest with you that, you know, everybody present here would understand that at the end of it, it's not just money which works, and it's conviction.
So just a few words I picked up. First, I don't know whether you noticed, he always said, I didn't know. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned from leaderships is when they have the humility to say, I don't know, because only when you don't know, you get to know and you listen to your people around. And the second is that, I mean, it's fine. He used words which actually is passion, junoon. So agar junoon hai to paisa nahi hai to kya hai? Dhanda to ban jayega usse. Yeah? I just want to shift from there to Starbucks. From US directly into India, running Starbucks across. Have the Indians surprised you? Has anybody asked you to say, can you put some bhujia or gujia into your Starbucks? I mean, you don't know, anything can happen because I'm a South Indian and I'm amazed as to how people want to have dosas with Manchurian inside. I mean, how can you have dosa? It's supposed to have some aloo bhaji inside. So I don't know. Share your experience.
So we get lots of advice on either you're not Indian enough or why can't I get a bagel? We get both. Why aren't you the Western brand? But coming into India, I think that's one of the most common questions. What surprises you? And when I came to the marketplace, I wanted to see for firsthand, and I visited each market, visited lots of stores. And as I went across the marketplace, the thing that surprised me the most was that there was no difference how the customers were using Starbucks, how we were interacting with them and their interest in the brand, the environment, the coffee, and then the real magic about Starbucks is our people who engage with the customers, develop relationships. And I guess the only difference is in the US, the busy time is between 7 and 9 a.m., and in India it's 2 to 7. So they stay a little longer, they eat a little more, which doesn't surprise anybody, but it's used exactly the same way.
But is it the same small, regular, tall, or here they use more tall or more small or whatever? I mean, is the consumption the same, 1 liter coffee?
Well, so in any of the established markets, especially across Asia, there's this growth curve on understanding the product. So we have to teach them coffee. People walking in don't know the difference between a latte and a cappuccino generally. So they start with the basic beverages, and then over time, as they grow the relationship with the brand, they get to know the partners and they explain different things, they try different new things, then it kind of evolves over time.
So have you introduced any new Indian dish like the veg burger that McDonald's has introduced in India?
So we opened the Calcutta market recently, and it's the first time we did 2 specific products that were regionalized. One was a coffee-based Mishti Doi, as well as a Rush Malai covered in chocolate mousse. So a little unique, a little different, and I've come with this term. As an international brand, they expect the Western form and function, but it has to have some local taste, and if it doesn't have masala, it isn't going to sell.
Wow. So how many Bengalis here? 1 or 2, no? So just remember, you know, the Rasmalai becomes Roshmalai to back to Rasmalai, and it will become R Malai to RM. You know, that's the way it is actually going to go. But interesting, therefore yesterday I was talking to somebody, and he was telling me about the whole Starbucks opening, when you open the first Starbucks, and there was so much of queue and so much of queue. And I was asking how much business that Starbucks did. You know what they said? He said the queue was so long, a chaiwala came and started serving chai to the queue. That is unconventional, yeah. And I think that is the beauty of this business. Yeah?
We're also good for the small business owner.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. You know, I don't know where, but I was talking in one conference, and I must share this with you. You know, many years back when Orange launched in India, in Mumbai, they had a tie-up with Shoppers Stop. So the deal was very simple: bring an orange and get 10% off. And early morning, I didn't realize. I thought customers will bring orange. The very newspaper ad, an orange small guy realized. He was waiting for me to come down from my auto rickshaw, and he asked me, "Sir, मैं आपको orange बेच सकता हूँ क्या? या खरीद सकता हूँ?" So I didn't understand why. You know what he did? He had only one tailor. He was selling customers orange for them to come and take a 10% discount. And from the back, he used to come back and buy oranges at 5 rupees. So that guy turned around his orange 50 times in a day. So orange didn't make money, shoppers lost 10%, but this is one guy who made money. That is unconventional, but I think more than unconventional, it's all about catching it at the right time. You know, to be instinctive and really catch on to that. Dilip, you have gone through, I don't know how many cycles of good times, mostly good times. I mean, like you had another gentleman of fun times. Okay, this guy is all about good times. Okay, tell me, Dilip, in between, when businesses go down, okay, or you have struggled with the landlords, or especially with the department store chains, you know, who behave very, very odd with you. How do you actually take calls when people come and say, Shoppers is not allowing me to expand? I mean, what is your immediate reaction? How do you take those calls? How do you take it down the line and convince them, no, it's a long-term partner, let me work?
I think you're getting to touchy subjects here.
I thought this whole thing is about unconventional, unconditional questions not asked earlier. It's okay. I mean, you can tell me about my time.
I think most of the large retailers haven't been such an issue. I mean, that's not. I think the problem there is whether they treat your brand properly or not. It's more a question of how they handle you, not whether they want to handle you. Malls are a different story.
Malls, keep the mic a little nearer. Yeah? You know, because I want you to say this louder. Malls are a real story. There are some mall CEOs also sitting here, you know. So,
well, we all suffer with them, don't we? I think that's probably the part of my job that I like the least. Everything else I can handle more easily. Handling malls is tough. If one doesn't work, you go to either you go to the mall next door, or you go to another person in the same mall who's a nicer guy.
I want you, Dilip, to talk about yourself, how Dilip Kapur handles these kind of challenges, yeah.
I think, well, you know, maybe it's a little easier for me, because just saying hell with it is much easier for me. Starting a business was one of the more tougher jobs that I ever did. With a PhD, and when I first started, I was such a fool when it came to accounts that twice I got robbed.
People have heard this, huh? When I started, I was a fool. So I'm no more a fool. Don't try to act, huh? Yeah.
Well, different ways of being a fool. So you keep falling, but you keep learning, you keep going. And I think it's interesting that you would say that, because I always thought you were such a professional. But to me, I think what really made life always easier was when I could say that it doesn't really matter. You know, when if somebody's being a jackass to you, it doesn't matter. Leave it. You know, you go on to somebody else. Move on, because wherever you put your energy, the returns come, and there are a lot of different places to put energy in.
Wow, I think that's strong words in that statement, huh? He says, move on, because that's another thing that all of us face. We actually get stuck with problems, and we are always revolving around the problems. But to let go of the problems and move on, but especially Arvind Internet. Okay, Arvind is not a technology or internet company, a traditional fabric manufacturer moving into brands. Let's move towards culture. So when you run an internet company within a large group, which actually comes from traditional, old school thoughts, maybe not now, how do you start building a culture? And what are the challenges you face when you have to work with a company like this internally? And outside, of course, you're working with so many brands.
So I think firstly, the statement to be made is, compared to my other fellow panelists here, I have probably not the hair or the experience to be on this panel, but let me take a cut at what you're
age
discussing.
Is to your side. Age is to your side.
You know, so part of what makes, to answer your question, you know, culture at its core is something that has to be built over time. It's not something that you can just take off the shelf or assume it's there. For us, being part of a larger group that has a legacy like Arvind does, obviously has its share of baggage in terms of what you inherit from the parent company. But for us, life was a bit easier because of one key difference, which was the type of folks that work at Arvind Internet are younger. We're talking about folks who've come from, you know, probably 1 or 2 years of experience working somewhere else, or even freshers who typically are the bulk of our family, effectively. So your average, you know, the median age being 26, 27, you really have a different type of knowledge worker at Arvind Internet. And so part of developing culture and working with people there is to first, a lot of these people come in with the mindset that they're going to be working at a startup. Now, by definition, that has its own baggage, because people today have this thought that a startup has to have a certain culture. What we've tried to do at Arvind Internet is to kind of remove that baggage of what a startup is or what Arvind is and start afresh, which is when you join the company, the intent is, let's create safety for you first, right? And that's the first principle that we all live with, was you are joining a family where we're a small company, we're a company where it doesn't matter if you know enough, if you think you've done enough. We're all doing this for the first time. If you think about omnichannel retail, what we're doing in the industry, it's an area where a lot of people don't have much experience yet. We're still doing it for the first time. So how do you create safety for your family?
Safety is fire safety,
Yeah.
or safety of job, get my salary every month.
Very good question. So no, safety is actually quite the opposite. I mean, think about where you're safest in your life, right? And the way we think about this is the safest place for you still is the 4 people which you consider family, the closest 4 people in your life, or the 5 people, whatever it is. And that's the first step in really creating culture, is that you need to be yourself, right? You have to come with your baggage, not any other baggage in the company. And that's what I mean by safety. I think it's starting there. The second thought is risk-taking, right? We're doing stuff for the first time. We have no idea if it's going to work or not. And so we like people to come in, feel part of the family, but importantly, take big bets, take risks that, you know, often change the way you think. And the third part of culture that we always push forward is purpose, right? What is it that you're doing here? You're talking about, you know, we use big words like omni-channel, we use big words like changing retail, but really what you're trying to do is experiment, right? You're trying to create meaningful experiments as young people to, at times, trying out different things that people have not done. So the common sense of purpose really comes, you know, to be that big part of our culture, is to kind of try things for the first time.
Yeah, you come out with some golden words. I want to touch on one of the words, but safety, which is like feel at home. I think that's purposeful. Again, a very, very strong, big bets.
You know, and I asked you a question. I've done this the wrong way also. I mean, you know, we started Jabong 2012. and I can honestly say this, culture was the last thing on our minds, right? We went for growth and, funding and effectively, transactions and GMV. And when you start off with those kinds of senses of purpose versus what we just discussed, you're a very different type of organization.
Let me ask the audience, if all of you had to look at two things, building a culture which actually stabilizes for the future versus building growth which gives you future money, what will you choose? Culture, how many of you? Wow, wow, wow. All of them want
But
culture.
I don't think the answer would change if you ask this question anywhere. I mean, most people would put their hands up for culture. But the question is, it's tougher to do that than show growth.
Absolutely. No, so I want to ask the next question. So if culture is going to be so important, which means that all of you have your offices almost like home? I mean, you treat your employees like family? Are they like your family or are they your family? How many of you think your employees, if you're entrepreneurs, are family? See, this is odd. It comes like this, then it goes like this, and then, yeah, it goes like this. Yeah, I think that's the difference. I was talking to an entrepreneur, and he says, Nagesh, there's no way I treat all my employees like family. I said, please define what is like family. Okay, they are family or they're not family, but like family. But very, very interesting points. Just one quick one. When you say big bets, okay, the big and small bets depends on the size and scale of what you're doing. But what happens when the bets don't work the way you want? Okay, what happens to the safety? And especially if bets don't happen one quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter, then what happens to safety?
And I think the way, again, I don't think I have the definite answer. I'll tell you how I would think of it. Making bets is what we get paid to do as leaders, right? And this is really why all of us do what we do, is we like making calculated bets. Along with making bets as leaders, the consequences also come back to us, right? And so the way we work with our team is, look, our job is to shepherd bets and risk-taking in our organization. But me as a leader will take responsibility if you make the wrong bets. And that's the way it has to work. I don't think there's any other way around it, is that you take responsibility for bad bets.
I like that. I don't know whether you're getting the signals. Wonderful to say, me as a leader will take the flak if the bets go wrong. So if we succeed, we celebrate. If we fail, I will take the responsibility of failure. Again, fantastic.
We all fail together too. But I think as a leader, I think you shoulder that responsibility to a higher degree.
Fantastic. Shailesh, you have led creating Tommy as a brand in this country, and now I'm told you have been given CK also. Yeah? I don't know. What was the startup organization? 20, 30, 40 people? Less. And now 850 people.
Now we run appraisal for 2,200 people, including our store staff that we manage. So I was the first employee. Now we are 2,200 employees.
So just tell me, if you have to define Tommy Hilfiger or CK or the business that runs these, define the culture. What will be the 3 or 4 words that you'll use without using long sentences? Just the words.
I would say quality would be one word.
Okay.
Empathetic would be another word we would use. Result-oriented would be another word. And fun would be another word.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. How many of you celebrate success in your organization and failure in organization? Success, how many of you celebrate? Wow. And how many of you celebrate failure? Oh, there are about 5-10 people in the audience who also celebrate failure. Yeah, because if you don't, celebrate in not the sense that you give ESOPs and bonuses, but at least you do talk about the failures, because otherwise how do you actually learn? So tell me, these 4-5 elements of culture building, and in the journey, has anything shifted? Because that time you were 20, 40, today you're 2,500 spread across the country.
We were actually a true startup. Now we use the word like startup, but when in 2006 I joined, we didn't use the word like startup. We just used a very conventional word like business, new business. We were not using jargon. So if I use the current jargon called startup, we are still we were one startup in 2006. In 2018, we have 4 or 5 startups happening. So CK to me in a way is a startup today. Parts of Tommy, within Tommy are startups, so we are launching accessorization in a big way. 20% of our store business comes from accessories today. So all the time we are launching accessories. So we did footwear earlier, now we're doing underwear. So there is something similar to what was happening in 2006 is happening even today. So somewhere there's a continuity. Just that it was a small startup, now we have multiple startup within the system. So we like doing new things and bringing new things to India. Somewhere that's our DNA, that we want to bring what's happening in the world to India. And we always try to do that and bring that to India. And that has not changed, fortunately, for us.
But tell me, Shailesh, when you, in this journey, when some things don't work, how does Shailesh take it? What do you do? How do you, see, you have been there for 13, 14 years.
I don't take failures well. I'll be upfront. It's very fashionable to say, we celebrate failures and we enjoy, but I personally, I don't enjoy failures. It matters to me. I get rattled that day. So, the point is, but at the end of it, we have to stay focused. So in Indian mythology, say, look at the eye of the fish. So I always said, I give you some specific example. When I joined, dollars was 40. It went down to 38 rupees. So rupees strengthened, and when I moved back, I was briefly in Hong Kong, and to take this job, I came back to India. And that time it was 40 rupees, became 38. I was very happy. India was shining. In 2007, our GDP was at 10%, one of the highest ever. And today we are at 72 rupees to a dollar. And just imagine, what it does to the P&L of a largely import-driven business, primarily import-driven business. It really takes, it's a very, very, makes it very, very challenging, Nagesh.
I know, but when you get rattled, how do you get yourself unrattled? I don't know what is the right word.
Yeah, again I'm saying, it is about the personality of the organization, not about the individual, but of the organization. But I can talk about myself. I can say that it rattles me a lot, but at the end of the day, we are very quality people. We know what we want to do, almost thick-skinned to the extent that, nahi yahi karna hai, we will not compromise. That's something in our body, something in our personality is such that we overcome, because then it's like in cricket, you take a fresh guard and say, okay, I almost touched the ball and it would have got into the first slip. But now next ball, I need to sort of take the fresh guard and make sure I hit it with the straight bat and don't sort of open the
गलती से अगर out हो गए तो dressing room में जाके क्या सोचते हो? That's what I'm trying to ask.
That time you feel very bad. I just said that.
No, bad is all right.
Angry,
How do you prepare yourself for the next innings? I want to ask you that.
I don't know. I don't want to use a word like muscle memory, but you figure out your own formula, Nagesh. That I'm like really frustrated that something has gone wrong. It has not happened as per the plan, and it does rattle me. I get extremely angry with myself. And I think what works, if you're really looking for an answer, is that my fight is always with me. I never blame sort of others for that, because I say, why did I let this guy do this? I should have done it myself, or I should have trained him better, or I should have found somebody better. So always the fight is with self, not with somebody else. So if something goes wrong, whatever you say or do, eventually you know that you did something wrong. And then you're just about, I will not do this wrong again. And I will prepare better. I will sort of, make sure I don't trust the wrong people, or whatever the lessons from there. Eventually, you can't blame others. You have to see that in most of the time when things go bad, you as sort of head of the family, you are largely responsible for that.
When I used to go through this situation in Shoppers, my way of coming out of this was I used to go lock myself in the bathroom, stand in front of the mirror and bash the guy on the mirror for doing all nonsense, and then try to come out of it. Yeah, Anjan, you have gone through this and you have seen others going through this. In front of you, the whole F&B, the whole restaurant industry has grown to big numbers. Tell me, when you get into these kind of struggles, are there unconventional thinking that comes out? Have you done something very different in mainland China group which has suddenly make it doing very well?
As I said, that there were mistakes, obviously, in the journey. And as you understand that, in terms of exposure from the time we started, we've learned from the school of life, the mistakes that we have done over a period of time. But everybody, we are all human beings. We all go through a process of, lows and highs. So I think whenever this has happened, you need to be philosophical. In fact, beyond a particular point of time, it's destiny. People say that, no, you look at the destination, not destiny, but I've been very philosophical on such things. And at that point of time, you have to rationalize saying that, fair enough, mistakes have gone, take the lesson, and ensure that you don't repeat it again. And we try and, I mean, we've learned it this way, and that has worked for us. In fact, I mean, and as you rightly said, because all the leaders sitting here and many more, and you have done that, if you go low, you know the kind of effect you create
Absolutely.
in your
Absolutely.
organization. So
Absolutely.
there is, it's lonely at the top. So you need to fight with yourself, and then, like you said, the support system and the family and the anchorage which comes in. One thing I wanted to add about the culture, which, you know, since we had no organization, I started with one single human being working in. I think that it's important that, you know, it's not accidental that the culture happens in. And everybody talks about, it's the most abused word that, you know, it's a family. It's used as that. But I'm sure that over a period of time, every institution that you build, brick by brick, you need to make them feel the sense of belonging.
Yeah.
I think that happens over a period of time, and everybody has done that. I'm not trying to say that any bookish language, because that feeling comes in when, you know, you have people staying over a period of 15, 17, 18, 19 years in our 25 years journey. I think that is brick by brick, and it happens only when the leader himself actually is doing a lot of sacrifice to take the shocks and not give the, you know, not make it a blame game kind of an institution.
Beautiful, beautiful. In fact, in the course of the journey, when I've asked people about this culture building part, I mean, two words that keeps coming in the mind is, one is they say, the culture ensures that we are respected. I think that's a very, very strong. The second thing they say is the genuinity of the leader. I mean, is the leader genuine in what he is doing? Because sometimes if you're not genuine or you're genuine, something goes wrong. But at least they know that the leader meant what he said, and he's trying to do what he meant. I think that's a very, very strong point. Dilip, you have gone through the journey. Where have you seen in the culture building exercise anything other than genuinity, other than family? Is there anything unconventional did? I mean, I know, I mean, if you go to Hidesign office, they are in a forest, and you sit inside, you know, underneath a banyan tree, and there is a pool, and there are ducks in that pool. And I mean, it's a beautiful environment. When I go there, I feel, why should anybody work here? It's just like that. So is this all part of the culture building?
Well, I think the values in Pondicherry are very strong and very clear, because we are there. You know, I live in Oroville, I live in a forest. The place is built, you know, the way it is built. So I think the values come through to the people very fast, because they, you know, they believe in the values being natural. I see the styling. I see them come in the way they're dressed. And 2 or 3 months later, we have a word saying they become high designized. They start wearing different clothes. They start talking a different language. So I think it happens quite fast. One of the problems I've always faced is if you are not in a metro or something like we are, you know, way out somewhere, people come away from home, they don't stay very long. They stay for maybe 2 years. How do you build a culture? How do you get dedication? How do you get that within such a short time? And then you have to start all over.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, how do you ensure people come? I met somebody from the Maneuver team, and I saw them recruiting from all over the country, and they're all now going to Kolkata, and Monday to Friday Kolkata, Sunday in Bangalore, and Sunday in Mumbai. So I'm hoping that one day they all will shift to Kolkata, and Ravi Modi will create an environment like this. But yeah, it's a question. I don't have an answer. I don't know if anybody else has an answer. How do you build a culture where people come far off from the family and stay with you?
Well, I mean, we try our best, but the one thing we've done, which is very interesting, which I learned from my university in America, we have something called alumni. And it's been one of the greatest pleasures is that people leave. We know that people leave, and they're going to leave. But we have an alumni system by which we keep in touch with them. And they continue to get the employee type of discount in the stores. They continue to get a newsletter. So you build a culture over time that, people, even when they know they're going to go, that to some extent they're going to stay a high designer.
So they go forward as your brand ambassador. Yeah. One of the things that some of the CEOs suggested is that if you are actually able to ensure that the family is also high designed, I mean, they also become part of the high design family, then it becomes difficult for the man or the lady to leave the job and go because family wants to stick on to the company and the
they get
brand.
married.
Oh, because they're married. No, I didn't mean that.
80% women, and they all get married, and then.
I'm talking of the youngsters who are not married. Yeah. Sumit, anything unconventional that you're seeing happening in India in terms of people behavior, managerial thinking, and Starbucks culture, strong culture? How do you bring the Starbucks culture into India, or is it an Indian Starbucks culture?
Good question. The other thing is we're Tata Starbucks. So we have a 150-year-old legacy on what people expect from us from Tata. Then they add on this wonderful brand of Starbucks, and the culture of Starbucks is built off creating, our actual mission statement is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. And I've worked for companies that have mission statements on the walls. They have it on papers. And the true test of any organization is when things are not going well, how does it feel for your people? And I think as a leader in the organization, that's where I think that you make a statement. And what I've found, people that work at Starbucks and Tata Starbucks, it's an incredible culture where people feel connected and committed, and they have passion, they have commitment and engagement. But when something isn't right, they're waiting to see what the leaders will do. Is this really going to be the culture of the organization? Do we really stand up for what we believe in? And I think what I've found in my leadership journey is that it provides you moments when you find reality and you find the truth, which is sometimes scary and not in alignment with your values or not in alignment with your culture, and what do you do? And I've found that I've taken those moments to make an extremely strong statement that really demonstrates to our people, no. What we just saw, what you just heard, what is just happening is not who we are, and we will not stand for this, and we're going to make it right. And those moments, and then what happens with your people, they all just kind of, okay, I was worried this place is going to change. And at Starbucks, people are waiting for it to change a lot. No, they look for signals.
I think that was wonderful. This is a beautiful statement. I think there's something worth to catch. When there are moments of challenge and failure, or I won't use the word failure, challenge, the leadership behavior is actually visible, and people actually take it as a sense. It's nice to put it on the board outside, my vision, mission, values, nice words, but what is the demonstration of those words into real life when you actually have the challenge? So I think it's that's the time when you want to see the leaders coming in front. That was wonderful. Mukul, tell me, when you're looking at this kind of a growth, I'm sure you must be planning what, 2x, 3x? Because I think these gentlemen plan 7%, 10%. Nowadays, the way, like you have upper Worli, lower Worli, beyond Juhu, before Juhu. So like that, somebody asks us, how is the like-to-like? We'll say high single digit. We don't want to say it is 6, because 6 is high single. But we say high single digit, So, but when we talk to you all, you say 3x, 4x, or low single digit. So I think, 5%. No, it's 4x. So tell me, when you're into this kind of a journey, what are the challenges you face with the people? How do you convince them? How do you motivate them? Sometimes you have to work maybe, 8 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours extra?
Yeah, so I guess we're lucky to have that kind of growth. But on the other side, we also work with our brand partners who have your lower kind of
in another word, all the brand partners here saying we want to grow 3x, you all want to grow 7%, 10%. So come on, guys, buck up.
We don't share numbers.
Yeah.
They feel bad. But to your question, look, when you work in an environment like this, where it's a high growth environment, the upside is higher, right? But with all things in life, for that risk you're taking, the returns will be higher. But you're putting a lot more of yourself in to get that kind of return. So to your point, exactly right. When you're working with younger workers, they're more than happy to put in the time, the effort, because they realize there is growth here. There is potential for us to really spend time working on something that can have outsized returns compared to some other industries that are out there. So you are asking a lot of these people to believe in you, along with you as a founder, obviously, if that business have a vested interest. But how do you get a bunch of 24-year-olds to commit to something beyond 1 or 2 years? That's actually the biggest challenge we face as leaders, is everybody wants short-term sort of results. But you as a founder, as a leader, realize that there's a longer-term value you're trying to build here. So one of our biggest challenges as leaders is exactly that, is to take a concept, an idea, and to think longer term when the bias of a lot of your family is literally that this should be a home run or bust. And that often is the mentality we have to really nurture and push people to thinking more long term. Now, I've spent half of my professional career in the US and the other half here in India. And the type of leadership that you see being exhibited in different geographies also comes into play here.
Just describe that.
And
Two, three words on
a couple
this
words
side.
on that. When you work with younger knowledge workers in India, they often want that strong, I know everything, will be okay type of leader, right? They kind of look for people that they look up to because these are folks who have just come out of their first job or undergrad for that matter. At times, you want to be an authentic leader, right? You want to be able to communicate what keeps you up, what is it that's on your mind, what is it that you're doing right or wrong. Oftentimes, this demographic doesn't quite see you the same way, right? They want somebody who knows the answers all the time. And that is not easy to do, especially when the kind of work we do. Oftentimes, we don't know the answer. Right? Oftentimes, we have to
as a CEO,
change.
you're supposed to know all the answers. I mean, come on.
And the life of, I can talk about even Arvind Internet, we've changed our strategy 3 times in the last, sort of 4 years that we've been in existence. And a lot of time that creates creates a lot of nervousness in the organization that maybe you don't know the answers and you're still leading us, right?
If you go to the canteen and listen to what the youngsters are talking about, they say this idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing. Every 6 months he comes and gives a new strategy.
And we have this thing called Glassdoor. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a fantastic platform. If you guys all know about Glassdoor, right? The technology and sort of the startup industry uses this tool quite a bit where your employees rate the company, right? And so it's basically like a Twitter feed for leaders.
Only the company or the CEO also?
CEOs, there's a CEO rating right there, right? And so you can literally, you have a fairly transparent idea of what people think of you in your company.
So I want, Anjan, I want to come to you about creating ownership. We talked about family, okay, but creating ownership, okay? And before that, I want to ask here, how many of you are owners of your brands? Oh, let me repeat the question again. How many of you are owners of your brands? Again, I'm repeating. How many of you are owners of your brands? So this is the biggest challenge. Okay, if suppose I ask the question, how many of you own shares in your company? Maybe few of you, there are owners. But when I say how many of you own your brands, okay, there has to be 100% people because, I mean, that's what you are. You're not talking about ESOPs or shareholding, but you're talking of ownership. So this whole thing about family, culture, value, how do you transfer that ownership? What are the elements that you do? People say, I know people who say, this is my company. I am the owner of it. So what if I don't hold? So what are the elements which makes a person own the company, own the brand, own the business without owning shares? ESOPs have become big, people are making $100 million, but ownership transfer to employees. What are the 1 or 2 elements comes to your mind?
Very difficult question and a difficult task, I would say that. But as you understand that owner is a very abused term. Everybody thinks in India especially, "Arey, wo to malik hai, seth hai, seth." As you also know that they don't understand uneasy lies ahead. So the question here is that, but over a period of time, if you can, what he said very interestingly in the beginning, that the sense of purpose, the fact that, you're doing something which is for a larger interest of the internal and external customer, and the fact that you are treating and you're doing something like, we have lots of people who are illiterates, and giving and making them feel without an ESOP, making them feel very secure and ownership, the fact that he stays for 17, 18, 19 years, that you will be protected, and at any given point of time. I think you need to vaccinate it over a period of time, and the fact that, the sense of belonging comes in from the fact that at any given point of time, if he is actually feeling that he's been a part of the good things, not just the bad things alone. So I think that the whole culture is built, and then it comes in from the fact that that zone is owned by him, that store is owned by him, and he takes pride in that.
No,
it takes time.
I actually love that your statement. If you allow me to share that with the audience, we were talking in the room before coming here, and Anjan mentioned saying, we're talking about service charges in the restaurant business, and he mentioned that as mainland China or the group, they don't charge service charges. I said, but anyhow, the service charges are actually in a way, subsidizing the employment cost. But what I loved when he said, we don't charge service charge, but we pass a percentage of revenue to our employees. So actually, our employees are part of my profits. Now, this is a very different way to look at it, Anjan. Here are some owners who are actually charging service charges and not even passing it to the employees, whereas most of us as customers believe that service charge is going to the employee. And here you don't even charge service charge, but you'll still pass a revenue share to the employee. What goes behind in creating this? Very few entrepreneurs, owners I have seen doing this.
See, I'll tell you very honestly, it was very simple that they were getting a part of the service charge when we used to charge service charge, like bhed chalti, and over a period of time there was a lot of flack. You know that there was a whole social media and everybody was talking and questioning about service charge. And I found that yes, in Indian mentality, it is not right. They're saying that we're paying you a price for your service and food, everything else. So why would I? Especially in Bengal, no offense meant, because we have a very good penetration in Bengal. So there were letters, issues, and people were not paying and everything. So we said, let's get out of this. Yeah, that's right.
This one?
Yeah.
Nahi denge, nahi denge, 6% nahi
denge. Korbona, debona.
Debona.
You know, so we understood this and we said that fine. But then at that point of time, we had to take a decision that, okay, fair enough. We have to cover it up one day or the other, not in the short term with our revenues coming in, and a little bit of price flexibility and topping it up. That has to be done. But we said that they will not be deprived, because that's a point of time they feel that they're not a part of the ownership and the culture, and suddenly their earnings drop. So it's at the end of it, there is also something which is, you know, like we also ensure that 100% of the employees are given accommodation if they don't stay in a place. Well, that's again a part of this belonging, the fact that they are there, and then there are people who look after the residences rather than just keeping him as a dump. I'm sure you've gone through this whole thing.
I think there are two words I would want to mention here, which again keeps coming back in research again and again, and that's care and concern. And you know, I was talking about the genuinity of leadership. I think the other two words that come up is, my leader cares for me and he has concern for me. So care and concern and genuinity, I think, is a great way. But hats off, very few companies want to stay with their employees and part their wealth with the employees in this way. But it's wonderful. Dilip, I know you have a flight, and although they gave me half an hour less than scheduled, but you have decided to cut my session. I'm not cutting my session, sorry. Okay, I will cut when Dilip wants to go across. I was given 1 hour and I'm going to take my 1 hour. Yeah, Dilip. When you go through this journey, sorry, what did you say? Well, time's up, okay. I can't read, I'm having blurred eyes in front of me. Yeah, so, did you ever feel like giving it up?
Or quite frankly, lots of times.
Lots of times?
Well, because I came back to be part of something totally different. It wasn't business. I came back to be part of Oracle. So it's a constant fight between the business side of you and your, well, I don't know, your life's aspirations and ideals. So I would say there's probably never been a year, probably never been a month when I don't think about it.
But you never quit?
Well, you know, you get so involved, and so involved, how do you know, you're completely in it. It's very difficult to come out of something that you're so solidly involved.
It's not because you're forced to be involved in it, just because you're involved in it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
None of us are forced to be anything.
No, I'm just, Shailesh, what do you think? 13, 14 years, people tell me 27 years of shop to stop, what's happening? But it's just you're part of the whole feeling. So are you part of Tommy? Are you part of CK? Are you part of the company? And what is it? Is it the brand, or is it the ownership, or the ESOPs, or the product, or the customers?
No, I mean, you know, when we started, our thought process was to, like I said earlier, to bring international brands to India. And they require certain quality standard, which take time to build. And if I look back, 12 years of happy, successful journey, still a long way to go. So, you know, it's like you yourself feel, yeah, we've achieved something, but it's so much more to do. I mean, that is the whole feeling, that it's so much more to do, and that's what sort of keeps us involved and going, and, you know, going back to that. I'm also sort of taking liberty to answer one question which you asked, Sumitro, that, you know, this about unconventional leadership. And that was the topic, and I came prepared, so I wanted
Oh,
to
you
sort
have
of-
to, you have to. Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
finish
yeah.
that from
Yeah,
my
yeah, you have
system.
to.
You know, my view is that in India, we need to be more inside the box than outside the box. I see every day, you should just see how we drive the car. We should see how we follow the queue. And I can keep giving you the example. In fact, I see that we are where we are in 2018 as a country and as an industry, as brands or whatever. I think we should just forget all this discussion about outside the box. We should first get inside the box and do a good quality of what is inside the box. There's so much inside the box that we are forgetting that, and we are trying to run away about a chimera call or something outside the box. And that's what our vision has been. Follow quality, do basics right, do A for apple right, and then look at what is outside the box. And our whole journey in 12 years of my working with Tommy and last 1 year of working with CK, I can say that always my mantra to my team and to myself has always been, do the basics right. You know, pass the 10th standard, then you do your PhD. Don't try to go from 4th to the PhD. And you know, today in Bangalore, I see HSR layout, all the startups, 18 years old kids are trying to do something where they want to fail. I said, what? It doesn't make sense to me. You're shallow, you're not really learned the basic yet. So my messaging when I came for this topic of outside box leadership was, let's go inside. It sounds, conservative, sounds like you're driving the car with, some phrases, back mirror, blah, blah, whatever the thing. But let's have the pleasure when we sleep every day. We did something of quality. So that's my messaging.
Wow. I mean, you've actually taken a strong message. And you know what my message did? Suddenly it says 11 minutes left. It was saying time's up. Thank you very much. I think we need to give the audience some time. Last round of some questions, and we'll go on to the audience for interaction. Any motivational tool in the whole Indian ecosystem and the companies that you run has really worked for you? Anything with the audience can take back and say, wow, how did you manage to do that? You want to ask a question already? Arey wait yaar, just usko pehle bolne do. Okay, so let me repeat his question. Don't give him the mic, otherwise he'll say take some more time. So I've got your questions. He's saying the way you built your company is very different than the way others have built their company. The ecosystem was different. He looks like a friend. And maybe, are you from Pondicherry? You're admirers of Pondicherry. Oh, wow. The people love you. Dilip, come on. Dilip, Dilip, Dilip. That's the way it has to be. Yeah. So finally, all that is fine, but what is your question?
Along with your colleagues and what money you were taking back. There was a very clear distinctive boxes which were there. And you would have had a lot of challenges. When you were making more money, you would have said, why should I give this 33% to Auroville? I could start something outside and do something on my own. I mean, it's a typical greed which normally drives people. But how did you stay there and continue to do your business and expand the business?
What he's saying is, Dilip, you are not a greedy man. Okay? But all of us in the retail think that you are greedy. Yeah? You don't give us extra commission. I mean, this guy is very tough to deal with. Come on. Yeah, I think he has a fantastic question. What he's saying, Dilip, is you have built an organization. From day one, he says, you are giving away 1/3 of what you're creating to Auroville. You are actually sharing with the society. And you are really creating an inclusive company, including society in Pondicherry. How does that work? I didn't know about this part of your heart, yaar.
Well,
You know about this or no?
Sorry?
You know about this? What he's saying? Yes? Yeah, well, you have touched the nerve, abhi, gabad kar diya aapne.
Well, the 33% is not fixed, but yes, that's why you came there. So to be part of a community, that's why you came there, that's what you came to build. So if you don't participate in it, but money is only one part of it. You still, I think being involved in your community is very important. I still teach in the school. I think, whether you have a PhD or not, it doesn't really matter. You still have to teach, do something in your community. So yeah, you have to give back financially or But that's what you came for. So where's the conflict? I don't know.
No, I think that's no. I think the lesson here is, I mean, I can't take a poll on how many of the retailers give back. I think the lesson here is, and the word he used is, you have to be involved with the society. I think that's very important. As retailers, we are actually putting our stores and restaurants in between society. And I can tell you one example. When we opened the store in MGF Gurgaon, okay, it was a Shopper Stop store in MGF Mall. I met one customer and I said, ma'am, what do you think about the store? He says, I don't care about your store. You have messed up my life. I said, what happened? He says, I stay next door, and now it takes us 1 hour to enter my own house. So honestly, this is what happens to the society when we open a store or when we do business. But I think this is fantastic. Getting involved with the society and doing something for your local community is fantastic. Thank you very much for that. It was very nice. I'll give you some more questions. Yeah. Okay, last words, if anybody has any motivational tools that they have used and it's worked for you.
I mean, the obvious one that works very well in India, I found, is financial, number one. But at the end of the day, if you don't genuinely appreciate the work that your people do, they notice that more than they do the financial rewards. And it's really just the knowledge that, you know, if I go to a store and I know that they accomplish X, Y, Z, and I say, wow, you did a great job doing X, Y, Z, they're like, you actually knew that. And that means much more to them than even a financial reward.
Wonderful. So appreciating your employees, wonderful. I think we just have about 7 minutes. So with your permission, I'll open up the floor for question answers. If you have questions, that's the gentleman who has raised his hand. Then you have the second one. If there's anybody from here, we'll take 3, and that will be probably the last. Anyhow, those 2 questions, please. Keep it brief. Ask a question. No comments.
Sure. Hi, I'm Adiraj, and I have a background in consulting. So
Hey, stand up. Yeah, you're a young, handsome man. Let everybody see you. Yeah.
Sure. So I have a question, and I want the answer from each of you. But obviously, time permitting, and probably you can cap it to 20 seconds.
Wow.
In sync with the theme for this discussion, right? Unconventional leadership. I want all of you to, kind of state one checkmate move that you've made as a CEO or /MD, and one blunder move. So that would really give us like very specific examples as to how we can relate to. I mean, all of us talk about experiences, omni-channel, leadership, etc., but really getting hard facts.
I've got your question. So he's given you only 20 seconds. Checkmate move and a blunder move. It's going to take 20 seconds for them to understand. And you should have been in my place. This was my job. Yeah? Anyhow, I think let them think. In the meantime, the other gentleman ask your question.
Sure.
Yeah? We'll answer your question.
I'll give you
you
quick
got
20 seconds quickly. So, and someone already said it. Most blunder moves are thinking you know the answer.
Yeah.
And you actually implement something and you realize, man, I was wrong. And the checkmate move is the people closest to the customer always know more than you do.
Wow. Very good. Anybody else? People closest to the customers always know what's right. Wonderful. Anybody else? My blunder moment, I can tell you, at many points I thought as a CEO I know it all. And every time I thought I know it all, I've goofed it up. Okay? And my guys know that he's going to goof it up because he thinks he knows it all. So I think that's a very deadly move for me always. Anybody else on that? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, one person has taken it, so it's supposed to be done. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Nagesh. Hi everybody. My name is Tarun Basin. And my question to the panel is that in today's age where the delivery aggregators are controlling the last mile of consumer experience, the consumer experience at the door. So a lot of us have grown up getting the right cultural values within the teams, but in a very controlled environment where the customer is coming to our outlets. Now the outlets are going to the customer's door, and the last mile experience has been controlled by the Swiggy, the Food Panda, the Zomato, the Uber Eats, and you have very less control out there. How do you still percolate down the value systems, the culture, the consumer experience? I was just in one of my stores right now, and there were some 25 delivery boys of different aggregators, and I can't even describe the kind of uniform or the packaging that they were carrying. And so, and the biggest fear I had was that my brand at the customer's door was actually coming up in a very poor shape and form.
Babe,
so how do you now, in today's age, you are totally dependent on these aggregators, but still want to have the same value system? How do you do that?
See, very honestly, a store experience is a different experience than a delivery model, as you understand. I call Swiggy the new mother. Because in my house, I see boxes coming in, Earlier on, my child would actually come and ask the mother, "Kuch bana ke do, kuch karega." Like in the evening, we see dabbas coming in from Pizza Express, idhar udhar se sab aa hi ja raha hai. Or there's a new relationship that he has because of his smartphone, and he gets it from Swiggy. So now the point of your question of customer experience, I personally feel that when you are, first thing they are helping you reach them. It's a logistic arm for you, which is easier for you to reach them. But it is not a store experience. So people don't even, my humble understanding would be that people don't actually experiment or expect too much when it is being delivered. Now, what we do is that we've learned this the hard way. There are things like pan-fried noodles. There are things which are extremely difficult to be delivered. So, and that experience of food kills your restaurant. So hence we've got a special menu only for delivery. So what you need to do is that differentiate the store experience, wherein supposing there's a sizzler, you can't send it through a delivery boy and the sizzling thing doesn't happen. So the whole experience, I think there is a difference between that, and we need to segregate in our minds and then work and re-engineer the whole menu or the delivery, because what is apt for the delivery.
Wonderful. Re-engineer the menu, and maybe you want to look at a different exit point from where you can deliver. You must be facing a lot of this. You are dealing with so many brands, and you deliver the brands in an Arvind internet pack, or I don't know whether it's a DHL or a Blue Dart pack.
No, good question. So we are, to your point, we are the folks who have to deal with the experience on behalf of our brand partners. So beyond the technology, we also do logistics, call centers, we're doing store operations, training, and so we touch two types of customers: the ultimate customer of the brand, but also your store staff and your back-end operations folks. So for us, one of the things that's very important is, because we're doing omni-channel, a huge part of the ask is to give up control and do digital commerce, right? To give up touch, feel, having a customer associate to answer questions, doing all that digitally. And so part of our job as stewards for our brand partners is to actually push customer experience on the top of our sort of list of KPIs that the brand partner should think about, right? So we really go an extra mile to ensure that we start thinking about consumers together with our brand partner rather than them having to come to us and saying, what's happening with my experience, right? So that's part and parcel of our business model.
Good. Yeah, there's one question here, and that will be the last question, please, to the lady. Whoever's got the mic. Who's got the mic? Run, run, run.
Firstly, I apologize, I've lost my voice. This is to Starbucks. It's a very quick question. How does Starbucks create the magic of, having this third space and occupying this third place in people's lives? How do they create it? It wasn't just the coffee that was the hook. It was the aromas, the senses, and how successful have you been in doing this in India with, our large population that we have?
Can I use you for an ad later?
Yeah.
You said it perfectly, because frankly, Starbucks is an incredible environment. It's also the highest quality coffee. We only buy the top 3% Arabica in the world, and we control it from actually green all the way to the cup. But the real magic is creating an environment where we treat our people. We are famous for saying the customer experience will never exceed your partner experience. We call our employees partners. So we invest a lot of time and energy in creating the experience for our people that translates to the experience for the customer. And I always get asked, where do you get these people? I don't understand. They're happy, they're joyful, they smile, they engage. And it is all about literally creating an environment where we appreciate them, treat them with respect and dignity, and in a lot of ways we love on them a lot. And they in turn love on the customers.
Treat your employees as partners. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now the time is really up. So thank you very much for being here as an audience, and thanks this panel for the wonderful panel discussions that we have had. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You will not miss your flight. You will be on time now. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone on the panel, for such an informative discussion on breaking the conventions to succeed against all odds, what it takes to be an unconventional leader, and how it motivates your team.